getting much better at just setting this up preemptively before I actually start drawing and shit. Give me uno momento to open it up on my tablet. For some reason it is not opening up, but yeah, just give me a second. I'm just gonna be practicing whatever I want in terms of difficulty, so yeah, it should be fine. And I guess whoever joins along, please do also draw along. Right, so what I'm about to be practicing now is something I was doing for the past couple of days, but you're not going to see that video for a couple of weeks. It's from the Broken Draw Discord community. And it's essentially, let's see. Yeah, it's essentially just a giant cube grid. Right, that's the gist of it. I made it 10 times more difficult by adding bent cylinders to it. So why is that 10 times more difficult? Because now you have, okay, let's say vanishing points right there. That's the horizon line. This is a bit of a curvilinear perspective yet again, because we have one vanishing point there, one vanishing point there, one vanishing point here as well, right? So this is 5-point perspective, because if I wanted, I could have one vanishing point up here as well, right? This is the main primary vanishing point that everything's going towards. And obviously, you have to think about the other planes, like what are they converging towards, right? That's the layman's or the game man's. I already made that joke in my explanation, in my what's it called, my fucking Q&A. But why does the bent cylinders make this more difficult? Well, I'll show you, because you have to keep in mind the curvature that's happening, and it really forces you to think about 3D space, right? So for example, right, we're going along the perspective. We also have to think in terms of, like, you essentially have to see that grid, right? And that's what makes it so difficult. And that's what I'm practicing right now, because I struggled with it before. This is already so much better because, again, I'm intentionally practicing this and I'm visualizing it as I go along, right? So this is actually already so much better than before. You can already see that there's a bit of distance being covered, right? Spatially reasoned, you could say. But something that isn't that great about this, even though I tried, is that I should have made this, it's slightly thinner, right? We have to think about scale as well. So here the scale perhaps makes sense, perhaps, but I can try something again here, right? And here what I want to do is I want to make it go out, make it go down, and then make it go around, and then up, and then over here. So that's also very difficult, which is why visualizing it is important beforehand, right? I have trained my mind a lot to see these invisible lines that may seem, I guess, a bit confusing. I mean, not even a bit. It's definitely confusing. I know that this is very difficult to conceptualize. I understand that 100%, right? But that's literally art. You know, a lot of this is very difficult to conceptualize. And you see, I made a mistake because this is not far out enough to reach here, because again, depth is a part of space, right? So this is only reaching here. So if I were to bring this down, this would be right underneath this box. So what I need to do is, because I made this mistake, I need to make it go around here again, like so. And this is too much of a curve. Again, you have to think about the line that it's curving on as well, right? Okay, I see some people joined. What I'm doing is I'm practicing bending cylinders within a curvilinear perspective while boxes, attaching between boxes going to a certain vanishing point, right? I encourage you to draw along, anybody who is watching, right? Don't just fucking listen to my voice. And actually, if you're around the same level that I am, or less or more, whatever, I encourage you to try this. It's a very humbling exercise in spatial reasoning, right? Because you have to think about all the different parts of the grid that are aligned. And I already made a big mistake there. Should have been more subtle like that. And now, you see, now, spatially speaking, we should have enough depth to to reach that other part of the cube. But you see, I have to make sure I'm not being too drastic with my, I guess, with the curve, right? Because it is, of course, at the end of the day, going to be, and I have to also think about like where the overlaps occur. Is there an overlap occurring here? I think, I'm not sure. I have to, I'll really only know once I evaluate this again after I'm done, right? But for the time being, something like this. It's not bad. It's not bad. And then again, we can just close this off now, right? We've already, and every line you make should reinforce the perspective that you've established. Again, vanishing point here, horizon line somewhere around here, right? One vanishing point there, one vanishing point over here, one vanishing point over here, 5-point perspective, one up there. If I wanted to complete, this is like a very condensed curvilinear perspective. So, and it's not as if I'm an expert on this sort of perspective either, but I've been practicing it for the past couple of days, and thankfully I've already done a lot of drilling to this type of practice beforehand. So it's not as if I'm completely a novice to it. And it all comes down to just thinking really hard, right? So I'm thinking about the lines. I'm thinking literally about the invisible grid lines, which should, key operative word being should, improve my spatial reasoning. But I'm gonna rest my brain now. I see there's like an extra viewer here. I don't know who that is, but welcome. Continue. Yeah, feel free to draw along. But I'm gonna rest my brain, so there will be about 10 to 15 seconds of silence. Enjoy that, I guess. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Anything involving perspective, anything involving shapes, right? The better I can explain it, the better I can reinforce that for myself, right? That's how like teaching really helps with learning as well. So yeah, I know many of you fuckers are antisocial and are probably spazzing at the thought of having to type a message to this really famous internet YouTuber, and I understand. I do have quite the atmosphere or pressure about me, but you need not be afraid, for I really am just like you for real. Okay, what do I want to do here? Because this is gonna go there, maybe. Okay, so what we're gonna need here is we're gonna need something that really emphasizes scale, right? It needs to get thinner, like it has to get thinner. Again, that's a bit too sharp, right? But something like this. Like it has to get thinner there before expanding outward. I don't know if that was necessary. This is obviously way too sharp. And that's okay. Because these errors that we make, you see, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try my best to reinforce the scale. That curve should not have happened right around there. Okay, so this is where I needed this, like that. Not perfect, but you see how this is really good at practice. Oh, that fucker left, you piece of shit. Die, I'll remember this. How dare you get bored by me drawing boxes and cylinders, you cunt. I'll remember this, goddammit. Well, where's Jeff and Corey Lee when you need them? They would have appreciated my jokes. They would have appreciated everything about me. But yeah, this is I guess this is one of those streams where nobody's gonna be watching, which is fine. That way I can just jerk myself off and it'll be legal on YouTube. Oh wait, they're back. I mean, someone's back, I guess, at the very least. But yes, to this other new viewer, I'm just practicing my spatial reasoning, boxes, cylinders, and space, right? And it's also important to draw what you don't see. Because right now, I want to connect the bottom of this to the bottom of this. So how does that work in space? Well, what I can do is bring something that goes all the way down like so, right? And have that curve along, but we don't want to keep it boring and have the same angle. So what we can also do, because this is going to be larger, is bring it across like so. And again, this is all about spatial reasoning, right? Where should it turn? We can have it turn in here, then out again, or we can have it just turn here and then come over here. So it's very difficult. It's really very difficult. Oh, that fucker left again. I'll remember this. It's just half my stream is just me remembering people joining and then leaving because they get bored of my shit. When I have millions of subs, you will rue the day you ignored me. Until then, please feel free to disregard this nobody, I guess. But oh, this is very difficult. So let's think. So it'll come down here. So something like, right, this one. Come around. I think there's an overlap here. Jesus. Now we need to obviously make it a bit thinner because of this is a bit intuitive, this part right here, right? You're intuiting the scale. You know, that's what I tried doing there. It didn't really work out that well because again, this curve really fucked things up. And I didn't follow it along as well as I could have. Something like that. It would have been better if it was something like this. Even that's not that perfect, but drawovers help obviously when you're trying to figure things out. Now here, what can we do? We can bring it over here and then bring it up like that. So maybe but again, I need to think about the overlap. What's overlapping here? Is it that's too thick? That's way too thick. And I think it's misaligned, obviously. But that's how you learn. Right? That's incorrect, but that's okay. But yeah, bending cylinders in general is very, very difficult, especially when you bring it about in this sort of manner. But that again is how we learn, right? So we could even do something very simple like this. You have one like that. You have something like this, right? Even tiny ones, because now we have to think about. Okay, we have for following. Something like this. See, my bent cylinders need a lot of work, which is why it's okay to make these mistakes because it's how we're gonna learn. Right? The overlaps are actually something I struggle with quite a bit, which is fine because overlapping is a very difficult skill, right? Kim Jong-il always says this one thing where he's like, you have to think about what exists, sure, which is fine, but you also have to think about what doesn't exist as well, right? Like this is a huge mistake right here. So if I'm having trouble with this, what should I do? We should literally just go back to the basics and explain bending cylinders to ourselves again, right? So what is a bent cylinder? A bent cylinder, well, what is a normal cylinder? A normal cylinder is just this, right? There you go. An ellipse, a wider ellipse at the bottom. But what happens when you're trying to bend it, let's say, in sort of this direction? Well, you have one ellipse that's going here, and you have one ellipse going here. So what's happening? We basically have multiple ellipses that are turning at that point, right? Which is why we get something like that overlap, which occurs right here, right? Which is why, I guess, if I were to draw it elsewhere, like right around here, which is why we get something like this. That overlap basically signifies when one part of the contour is, I think, changing in plane. I believe that is the way to think about it. Again, I'm not too certain, but it's basically the cylinder is turning, right? Like the ellipse is turning, which is why we can do something like this and then bring it around like so, right? Now, is that perfect? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of errors here that are occurring, but it's relatively the concept that I seem to understand decently, right? If anybody actually has another explanation, please let me know how you would approach bending cylinders or how you would explain it to yourself, because it is very difficult, right? And again, like if we want planes connecting, we got to think way more. If we have something like this, and then maybe we have something, I guess, over here, right? And I know the page is all over the place, but this is how we utilize the space on our page anyways, right? So we have something that's going up, and we have to, and if we were to bring it back around, like so what would that look like here? Is there an overlap here, is the question. That's what I have to ask myself. Is or isn't there? Why would there be an overlap? Well, there wouldn't, because we're just seeing this side of the cylinder, right? So it doesn't make sense that there would be an overlap, but maybe there would be an overlap here because we're seeing the underside, like so. Same here, because we're turning and we're seeing the other side of it, right? Now, perspective is very off. I fucked it up because I was so focused on the overlap that I completely disregarded the perspective. So that's a mistake, and it's a good thing because now it reminds me to continue to zoom out, obviously, right? Zooming out is actually a very difficult skill, especially with fucking how my camera is set up right now. But yeah, this is a very, very good exercise in spatial reasoning. But yeah, I'm gonna rest my brain. Again, I encourage anybody watching to stop watching and perhaps listen instead. If it's educational, then watch, yeah. But otherwise, draw along. Actually, like get your pencil, your pen, whatever, and draw along. Draw, improve your fundamentals, improve your spatial reasoning, or just draw for shits and giggles, right? But don't let this channel be an outlet just to fucking keep on in the background and do nothing. Like actually, take action and draw along. And if you're not into art, then yeah, welcome. Fucking enjoy whatever this is. But I'm gonna be resting my brain because it's good for you. So give me like 10 seconds. I do wonder if anybody can actually hear me. Let me put the volume up on my iPad. I do wonder if anybody. Oh, they can. Fucking amazing. Literally, as I put it up, I just asked the same question. Wonderful. All right. I wonder if the extra person watching is just my girlfriend. I wouldn't doubt it. Maybe she woke up because she was taking a little naparoonie, but perhaps, man, this page must look fucking retarded to anybody watching. They're like, what the fuck is going on? But, okay. Yes, if you're watching, feel free to say hello. So I know you're not a bot, I guess. But I also wouldn't put it past you. Hello. Wow, that actually worked. Hello to you as well, Dion Patel. Patel, actually, Dion Patel. How are you? Are you also an aspiring artist? Please let me know. Okay, well, how can I connect this? Well, we can put it up here and have the vanishing point be somewhere there, right? But we don't need the bottom vanishing point to be that intense. And maybe it'll be a slight curvilinear perspective. Jesus. Okay, so something like that. Yes, I'm a student of animation. No, nice, nice. How long have you been learning animation for? Animation is incredible. They essentially they take everything that I've been learning about form, and this is why boxes and cylinders and bending and stretching is so pivotal in animation, because it really teaches you to learn how to express things in their simplest form, right? So at least that's my understanding of it. But okay, let's try something here. Okay, so I want to bring this outward, right? And then we want to go, because if that's the vanishing point, it should be something like that. And then curve around again. 2 years, impressive. How are you liking it? Okay, because I want to really practice that, right? So let's see, and then we can do something like, oh, that's too strong. Okay, vanishing point's like roughly there, so I need to, okay. And then we have, there you go. This is slightly better, I think. Really, really good practice when it comes to spatial reasoning, because again, these things are technically related differently to each other, right? If we have one line here and one line there, you can see this much distance is covered. Exact same principle. We have one line here, one line there. So if we were just to put a dot here, put a dot right there, you'd see it's carried, but then you're like, oh wait, I have all this space, right? Because again, imaginary vanishing points are right around here. Actually no, like right around here, right? This one actually has, maybe right around there. It's rough. It's intuition, right? Nobody's perfect, but yeah, like that's the principle I'm just trying to practice right now, with also, combining boxes and cylinders, or like bent cylinders. Too much hard work, but we're doing it. I mean, yeah, animation's very tough, but what type of work do you guys do? Because it's different from illustration, and it's different from I'm sure the fundamentals obviously still apply, but I do wonder how much the fundamentals of form are actually taught in animation. I feel as if it's really hit or miss depending on the school you go to. And again, I'm trying to keep the, okay, that isn't bad. Now, why does this look uncanny? Because this is not curved enough. There's not enough curves happening, right? This is not curved enough. This is very sharp curve. It needs to be more natural. This is why it's important to be able to see this stuff, right? It looks okay, but again, like this is way too sharp. It needs to be more natural, like this, right? So now we know a lot of my weaknesses come from just not retaining a natural seeming curve, right? So it's good. We can identify that, which is important. There you go. Right now, where else can we attach a box or a cylinder? Well, again, or where else can we attach the bent cylinders to from one plane to another? We can do it here to here. Now this is where things get fun, because technically I've introduced a fourth vanishing point right around, like way down below, but it is slightly curved, right? So I have to keep that in mind, because this cylinder, when it attaches here, it's going to be more curved than this one, right? So again, we have to keep that in mind as we bring this up, and then, because we have to think about how far is this, right? Roughly right around there, I believe, because I'm still trying to figure this out. We need a very natural curve. There you go. This is already, even though it's not even complete, it's already looking more organic, which is important. There you go. Everything like 2D, 3D, stop motion, claymation. Wow, that is a lot of work. Fuck. I think my only critique I have from what I've seen of animation schools and art schools in general is they're fucking stupid when it comes to how much they try to shove in terms of knowledge, right? Like they it's kind of like a recipe for burnout in the sense that I've noticed, especially for some reason with the arts, they really like making it as unnecessarily grindy as possible in terms of the time span, right? What should take 5 years to learn, they'll try to cram it into like a year or two, or not even 6 months, and then people obviously burn out because like what the fuck, bro? I didn't know it was gonna be like this, but I think that's just unfortunately how the arts have see that's not a good curve. But I think that's unfortunately what the arts have just sort of become, I guess, yeah, in terms of how they approach learning, which is retarded, which is actually completely fucking ineffective and inefficient, right? But schools in general don't really teach efficiently. They just teach in terms of go, 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 grind, 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 grind. And then when people obviously, evidently, lose a lot of okay, this is very difficult. Hold up. I'm gonna shut the fuck up. Yeah, when people evidently, I guess, just burn out or lose that ability to do it well, and then it's blamed on the student, seemingly. Yeah, again, I didn't focus on the curve enough. Yo, oh shit, it's Mully. Mali, Mully. That's exactly how you're supposed to pronounce it. What's up? How's it going? I don't know where you're located, by the way. How the fuck is what time zone is it for you guys? Okay. But yeah, draw along. I'm doing boxes, bending cylinders in space, attaching to other cubes, which is good for spatial reasoning purposes. I'm actually really losing sight of what I'm supposed to do here. But, oh, that's not a sharp enough curve. But I'm doing 4 year degree. I'm enjoying it. Okay, as long as you're enjoying it, that's all that matters, right? Art is one of those careers that's fueled by passion. Because we all know we're not fucking doing it for the money. But 12 a.m. Oh, okay. It's not that bad. That should have much more of a curve. I don't know what I'm doing here anymore. I really feel like I've lost sight of everything. Again, it needs to be way more curved, more subtle, more natural, right? 2 p.m. Oh, nice. You're in my time zone. Cool. Okay. Do I? Yeah, look at that. It became way too thin because I didn't think ahead. Yeah, but this is good exercise for sure in terms of spatial reasoning because I have to think about the grid at all times, right? Again, this one I have to find a middle ground between these two lines. There you go. I wanted to get admission in Van Arts. I don't know what Van Arts is. Is that a school? I'm assuming it's a school. That's a fucking retarded question. I'm assuming that's a school. Okay, I'm gonna rest my brain, but feel free to continue drawing, everybody. Oh, amazing. But yeah, seriously, draw along. Like, don't just watch me. Unless, again, this is informative and you have any questions, please do ask. But I want to encourage actually doing the work in my channel, not just fucking jerking yourself off. Ugh. Vancouver Institution of Media Arts. Oh, I didn't even know that existed, but that's pretty sick. I didn't know Vancouver had a art school, but it makes sense. A lot of places, especially these larger areas, have art schools. I should be drawing. Yeah, Molly, seriously, get on it. Literally, just take a paper. I'm sure you have paper near you somewhere. I'm sure you have a pen or pencil near you, right? At the very least, grind your brain. Work on your fucking boxes and cylinders, guys. Again, the boxes and cylinders aren't boring. You simply perhaps don't have the right mindset when it comes to learning, which is that just work your brain. The more you work your brain, the more you and just enjoy that process. Literally, just you just focus on enjoying the process of learning and working your brain. The more you can, the better you learn. That's just how it works. Okay, there's nothing happening underneath here, so we're gonna bring this like so. I'm gonna bring it all the way around. And again, this curve needs to be more subtle. I'm not right now. It's hard to stay consistent with those curves because I'm trying to think about the perspective as well. But that's the challenge, right? Okay, we're gonna go all the way down. And again, that curve is not strong enough either. But we're gonna go all the way down. And let's see, I want to connect it here. So of course, and I know like I'm sure people don't even watch my live streams because the pages are all fucking messy and shit. But I don't like wasting paper, and you shouldn't either. This is my PSA. Right, so we can bring this over here. Or should we go around? No, let's make it even more complicated. That line shouldn't have been as thick as it was. There you go. Oh, it's gonna get too thin if I don't fix this. Yep, see, that's a mistake because my line work isn't the best. But this is how we practice, right, guys? This is how we learn. And this is how we keep everything in mind. Right now, I lost the perspective there, but I'm about to gain it back, hopefully, by doing this. And there's going to be a point where this is going to have to go up because right now this pipe that I'm creating is underneath this box. Right? So I'm actually going to make it turn a little bit because this is getting too convoluted. Let's make it turn, come out here. And then we'll have it turn back. Let's see. I might have made a mistake, but we won't know until I finish it, right? So it's going around. Now, what is it that I can do or want to do? Well, let's see. This is technically below this plane right here, right? Because if I turn it, or is it actually? If I try that, never hurts to try it. It's gonna be very close. Yeah, see, it would be at the corner there. But again, great exercise for spatial reasoning. I'm gonna get a new paper because I'm sure this is giving you guys a headache as much as it is giving me a headache now. Too much shit going on all over the place. But yeah, try if you want to really test your spatial reasoning. Make a random horizon line, right? Like so. Choose a random vanishing point. Put boxes that go towards it, but just don't draw the full box. Draw a plane, right? Just draw the main y-axis. Mines look the same. Look the same in terms of what? I don't know what I was saying. And then just try connecting them. This will force you to work on your spatial reasoning, right? Because if you want a cylinder here to connect to a cylinder here, you have to keep this little perspective you established in mind while going towards the vanishing point while also coming back here, right? Like you have to really think about where you are in space, full of random stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like this well, my pages, if you watch, anybody who actually watches my channel would know, have more purpose. But during these live streams, it's just what do I want to work on? Like, I just want to focus on a couple weaknesses, right? For the longest time, I was doing these scooters, right? The crazy scooters. I was really focusing on that shit. I did a little teaching thing because I thought it was important for people to know the sort of progression they should go when it comes to form, right? And I did like an example of what that could turn into. But my actual videos have purpose, but these live streams are just me trying to focus on things that I think are a weakness, right? I'm probably going to do some line practice. It's been 35 minutes because these live streams somehow fucking fly by. Can you draw some boxes and put cylinders inside, please, senpai? Okay, sure. 100% I can do that. 100% I can do that. Let me get a new paper because this paper is like, yeah, there's space where I can fill shit, but actually, fuck it. Let me just let me just draw some random lines. I just don't like empty space, even though these lines are not conducive to my growth whatsoever. At least now we can say that I did something. There you go, whatever. Cool. Let me just put this paper away. Get my other one that I've gotten prepared. Wonderful. Okay. Drawing boxes and putting cylinders inside them. 100% I can do that because that's just going to reinforce what I already know, right? So I guess I'll just start in the middle, at least for demonstrative purposes, like the middle-ish area, right? And we'll have, I'm already fucking up my lines, but we'll try keeping these boxes as, I guess, symmetrical as possible. I mean, I'll try my best, right? It's all pretty intuitive now. Proportion is something I need to work on, so I'm not perfect. But here, we'll have a couple different sized boxes as well. But in general, we should always keep the plane symmetrical, right? The length of the box doesn't really matter because that's obviously contingent on the length of the cylinder, right? So it doesn't matter because that, with what this box really is, that just means there's just gonna be a longer cylinder inside of it, right? You know, I did a little convergence there, just very slight. This line is amazing, like this angle, because I struggle with this line angle so much, as you can see, right? But it doesn't even matter how wide you make your plane, as long as, again, it's pretty symmetrical, right? I really struggle drawing cylinders. Trust me, everybody does. But I'm about to show you how I approach drawing cylinders, and then I'm going to show you, and I'm going to really encourage you to do one thing, which basically made it, I spent months doing this thing, by the way, but which basically made it a lot easier to draw cylinders. But this is going to require a lot of cognitive effort. Anybody watching or listening, what I'm about to show you, right? First, I'm going to show you how to put a cylinder inside a box, at least how I interpret it, right? But then after that, what I'm about to show you, or about to encourage you to do, will involve really using your brain. I mean, really using your brain. So we have a box, and what a cylinder involves is a minor axis. What is the minor axis? The minor axis is just, I guess, the line going towards the horizon line. It's been so fucking long since I've learned this. I'm not going to be the best teacher, but I'll try my best. The minor axis is, okay, well, let me draw a cylinder first, or here, right? If we have 1 point perspective, like so, right? The minor axis is a line going towards the vanishing point. That's off center, fuck. But yeah, it's the line going towards the vanishing point, right? Again, if we had a cylinder like this, right? And let's say there's a vanishing point right there. The minor axis is a line going towards that, right? It's a line going towards that. It takes a very long time to actually understand this, because in the beginning, what I would do is I would draw a cylinder like this, but then be like, oh, this is how they would look. It would look like this. For months, it looked like this. This is what my cylinders look like, right? I didn't understand it, but really, all you need to know to understand and visualize the minor axis is you have to take the middle point, right, of the ellipse. So first, you have to focus on understanding where that middle point is, right? And then you have to really visualize where that line is going in your mind, ghosting it, whatever. And then the rest of the cylinder follows suit, right? That's the first thing that I really focused on, was just the minor axis, visualizing no matter what ellipse I drew, right? No matter what ellipse I drew, just understanding where that minor axis was. In this case, it's like this. In this case, it's like this. In this case, it's like this, right? And there will be prospective guys out there that explain that much better than I do. But I'm telling you right now, like that's the first thing that really, really helped me get cylinders down is always being able to understand the minor axis and where it's going and which direction it's going, right? Because that's basically the orientation of your cylinder. Now, when it comes to the box actually makes it very easy to understand the minor axis because it's already going towards that vanishing point, right? It's already going there. So that's why putting the cylinder inside a box really helps with understanding that. So along with understanding the minor axis, I would really encourage you to get the practice of just putting an ellipse inside a box, right? Just putting an ellipse inside a box, making sure the corners touch, all that shit. But it doesn't have to be perfect, but it just has to exist. It just has to reinforce what you already know. So as much as you do this, as much as you just get used to putting an ellipse inside a box, right? Making sure the planes touch, right? Because now, look, we've already gotten the minor axis. We've already gotten it. It's literally following the box, right? And again, to make things, again, like you want to simplify it, but also make it difficult. So you want to understand what's happening. So that's why you do the overdrawings first, because you want to understand that, oh, like we have the back of the box here, right? It stops roughly around here. The curve is going to be a wider degree because it's obviously the what's it called, if the vanishing point's there, this one is going we're going to see more of this back spot here, right, versus here, because this one's narrower. So I wonder if that explains it at least in terms of like the planes, the back one being wider than the front one, right? Because the front one is converging like so, but the back one, because we're literally just at a different angle, we're seeing more of the back. This will be hard to understand until you really practice it a lot. So what I'm doing here, I encourage you to actually follow along and practice it, because practice is what will make you understand. You can watch all the fucking videos you want. You can watch my shitty explanation all you want. But the practice is what's really going to make you internalize it. How much practice? Hundreds, thousands of this is how much I did to really internalize it. But the main thing I did to really understand cylinders and to draw cylinders is, okay, like we understand that minor axis exists, all that stuff, right? But what I really did to make this, I guess, work a lot better is perspective clusters, right? So we have a box that's like this, you have a box that's like this. Which drawing exercise do you think has made the most progress for you? There's many, but I would say in the beginning, yeah, these perspective clusters I'm showing you, right? Like that, and then you want to put another box in the same perspective, right? This will help you reinforce the consistent vanishing points that are occurring, like one here, one there, and like drawing lines the same, the same, I guess, that are parallel to each other, right? Because in the beginning, if I wanted to draw something like this and I was like, okay, I'm gonna put a box here, it would end up like that, which is normal. It's completely normal to have hundreds of these fuck ups where you're trying to be like, oh, I want to draw a box in the same perspective as this one, but then you do something like this. That's normal. That's completely fine. And in fact, you should expect that, right? And you should enjoy that and look forward to it. Yeah, these two are not in the same perspective, but when you recognize that error and you tell yourself that's a good thing, your brain is correcting that, right? Which is again why I encourage like taking time and stuff to just practice these things, but also resting your brain. But what I mean by like in relation to cylinders, what really helped me is, okay, we have this, right? We've established a relative perspective here. Now you want to add a cylinder to this. That makes it very difficult. So what you do is you practice, and this is very, very, very hard, but this is where you grow, right? When it's extremely difficult. I can do this now like nothing. I can literally do this like nothing. I don't have to think about it. But what I'm about to say is you visualize the plane. And this is where I have my other pen. You visualize this in your mind, right? Or on paper. However you visualize something, you visualize this. This is what you visualize in your mind. Okay? And then on top of that, you visualize and you ghost. Ghosting is just doing the movement over and over again. You visualize this and you visualize putting an ellipse inside of that, right? You visualize it. You just ghost. But you're seeing this in your mind's eye, however you visualize. Everybody visualizes differently. And then you put the cylinder down. And that's what made the biggest difference. Because once you can start visualizing and practicing your visualizing, you can literally do anything, right? Like, that's why I'm at the point here now where what I was doing earlier is I was able to visualize a lot of this. This is why, even though it has a lot of mistakes, the reason my decision making became better is because I was able to visualize this. I was able to see this in my mind's eye, right? And again, seeing something in your mind's eye is very particular to yourself. Don't think you have to visualize like Kim Jong-il or Peter Han or whatever. And they both visualize differently. Peter Han sees things halfway on the page and halfway in his mind, and like a weird amalgamation. I see it like that too. Kim Jong-il mainly sees that shit on the page. Some people see it purely in their mind, right? Some people don't even have that much of a strong visualization ability, but they build their own version of that, which is like this half like half kind of seeing things on the page, half calculating things in their mind, right? That's kind of what I do. So, but mainly you visualize, right? Really practice more than anything visualizing planes, different sizes, different perspectives, right? And then visualize, literally see the cylinder inside of it, but you don't just see it immediately. That's why ghosting is very helpful. Like ghost, I did so much of this. Again, I'm gonna hold up. I'll be right back. I'm gonna show you guys exactly how much work I did, because it's important for you to understand when I say that this takes months, right? Of genuine fucking like grinding. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's very fun. It's very difficult, but it's very fun. So here's a fucking thick ass. This is all my boxes and cylinders practice that I did for 13 months, right? Here, I want to show you. This was literally my first attempt. Draw box, right? Look at my boxes. Look at this shit. None of this shit makes sense, right? And I can't show it properly, so I apologize. But, 1 month later, they're slightly better. Huge, but still slightly better, right? And then again, another couple months later, right? Look at this shit. This is garbage, but this is where you start, And then obviously, I switched to ArtWad, and this is the box clusters. You see how a lot of things are misaligned, but this is what I was doing. You can see my cylinders. Look at that cylinder. It's horrible, right? But I was just visualizing over and over and over. Bunch of line practice, bunch of cylinder practice, like really trying to get it down, right? Switch to the brush pen. Things immediately got harder. My lines went to shit. Everything was difficult again, right? But this is what I mean. Like, this is literally what I did. And you're not going to be able to see it. But you see, I kept practicing. Like, I would draw a box, and then on top of it, I would visualize the exact same plane. And I would really just keep ghosting and trying to get that down, right? I did a shit ton of this. But this was just the end of that 13-month practice, right? But you can see I did a lot of work to get to this point, right? So, and again, I apologize for like the fucking lamination and everything looking off and all that stuff. But let me just put this away. I don't know where the fuck to put this. But that is how I approached it, right? If you want to make perspective easy for yourself, you got to really see and grind the perspective. Now I can literally see a plane like this in my mind, right? I can just see it in my mind and on paper, half and half, because that's how I visualize, and then I can just be like, okay, well, I don't even need to fill this in. I can just look over here and be like, all right, let's do this, something like that, right? Bam. Now it's in the same perspective, right? And it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And now I can just continue this and see that, oh, okay, look at that. I did make it in the same perspective. What a shock. Except it's not a shock, because I actually have spent a lot of time visualizing this, right? So that's what I would suggest. That's crazy. Thanks, man. This is really helpful for us beginners. No problem, because this is the part that more advanced people will never explicitly, outwardly, without any filter, tell you. And that's not, it's not malice on their end. They're not doing it intentionally, because they assume you know what it means to work hard and to really grind, not even just grind perspective, but to really work on your fundamentals. But what I just showed you, that's what it meant for me to get to this point where I'm at this level, right? Years later, not even years, 2 years later, a year and a half later, I'm drawing a bike from imagination. And you all know the work I've been putting on just understanding the bike parts, right? Drawing like a gun, because I did some gun practice. It all comes down to shapes, right? We know and we hear all the time, it all comes down to shapes. But that's why I had this thing, because it starts with this, then it goes to the clusters, then you start bending and twisting them. And then this is just literally ArtWad. This is why I'm fucking dick riding them 24/7, because they broke it down in such a good way, right? And a lot of these things I'm not even that great at. Like blending, like form intersections and form wrapping, I still struggle a lot with, right? But this has helped drastically, right? Understanding cylinders. So this may not be the technical fucking official explanation for cylinders, right? Because again, if you have something like this, right, it'll look like this. But then you can have something that's I don't know, like cylinders are interesting because you can have the same looking cylinder in different variations. I'm trying to think of a way to explain that, but I can't think of an example right now. But yeah, I would say, learn the concept of perspective, but more than anything, you really have to work on just applying it, right? Because anything elliptical is actually very difficult, but the thing is, the more difficult it is, the more you should really pursue it, right? The discomfort you feel when you're practicing, you have to tell yourself, and this is the truth, it's the best thing that can happen to you, right? Right now what I'm doing isn't very uncomfortable because I've practiced it so much, and I'm trying to teach it to those of you who are obviously asking, right? But it this was achieved, everything I'm doing right now, even like my line work, my pens, as you can see, like it's a bit better, right, was achieved through months and months of discomfort. And even now, all my practices, I do not like practicing something that feels easy. So I hope that helped. I'm going to switch to practicing some of the bike part stuff that I've been working on, but I hope this was helpful, right? The TLDR is understand the minor axis and then start visualizing planes, like start visualizing this, right? And start visualizing however you visualize. There's no specific way to visualize, but again, visualizing is kind of I guess it's a self-descriptive term in the sense that you essentially just want to see it in one way or another in your mind or whatever. Like you want to be able to understand, acknowledge, and practice. And visualization can be trained. How many hours do you exercise a day? Well, physical exercise is an hour and a half, but I'm assuming you're asking about art. 2 hours, because I'm fucking jobless right now. So, but beforehand, it was 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, roughly. On average, let's say on a weekly basis, I draw anywhere from 5 to 8 hours. 5 to 8 hours I draw on a weekly basis, right? But when I was doing those clusters, you see, that was just an hour a day, 5 days a week, for a year is how long I did that, right? And I'm not saying you have to only do that. I really love the grind because the more I know I'm doing something difficult, the more I'm strengthening my fundamentals, the more it's going to help me down the line, right? But yeah, that's how I did it. Even now, like what I'm doing right now, it's all about the box, right? So I'm visualizing the plane right now, and then I'm doing this, right? But I fucked it up already, so you could do something like that, then something like this, right? Visualizing the box is very difficult. Trust me, I understand how fucking difficult it is because you literally and I'm doing this shit while talking too, right? That's even harder. And I have to keep my pen like yeah, and I have to keep my pen hand steady, right? This has a lot of issues, but it's kind of the plane I was thinking of. It's very difficult. It's but this is why you have to keep honing your perspective, right? See, I fucked that up, I think. Yeah, this is like the bike part, right? That I'm thinking of. I don't know if that even worked or that was proper, but that's how you know I need to practice that more, right? So I'm going to keep practicing that. I'm just going to practice that bike part because this is actually a great way for me to visualize this, right? This is sort of the next level where now I have a plane, right? I have a plane and technically I have a box, right? But you see how there's a lot of different angles at play. So I have to now think about constantly that box while I'm drawing, and I have to think about, okay, well, I want something like I want more of a harsh angle first, like this, right, going across here. So I have to imagine how this would intersect in my mind, and then I put it down, right, and it has to be in the middle, you know. And then I have to think about, okay, well, now I want something less harsh, so something starting from the middle and then going there. So it's like, okay, it's kind of like this now, right? And then I have to think, okay, I'm going up, and it's curving along this up right here, right? It's curving along that, and then it's going outward. So then I have to think about that while I'm bringing this outward. And now this is slightly going out, and then that's where I get that shape. But it's all predicated on the box, which is extremely difficult. And that's why everybody says you got to do it, right? Do not, if there's one piece of advice I can give to any of you, is please do your best not to shy away from difficulty, because it's really in the difficult parts that you grow, right? This shit's hard as shit for me, especially because my hand is very unstable, right? It's hard to draw these lines, etc. But this is where I'm growing, like this right here. Again, I have to think about this angle. I have to think about the plane and how these lines connect in the plane, and then I have to think, okay, well, so this would be roughly like this, and over there, it'd be roughly like that, because I also have to remember, keep the plane, the perspective in mind, right? Like have that be proper. This one goes slightly downwards like so. This one we don't really see, but we kind of see just a little, right? And now we're following the perspective. We're just going down, following it back, and this one comes in a little, same thing here. So it comes down, following it back, and it comes in a little. And there you go. That's the bike part, right? The fucking I guess the casing on top of the wheel, right? And then there's other things like, okay, I still got to keep this box in mind while I put the fucking wheel on it. So now I have to think, now because I made this box tiny, I got it really, that's why you have to really, my goal right now is to really just see this everywhere. You know, this is the main goal. Fuck the plane, fuck everything. This is the box at the end of the day, right? No matter what angle we're in, this is the box. So I just have to be able to see the XYZ axis and expand it out on as large of a surface area on the page as I can. The goal, obviously, is to see it everywhere, right? The goal is to see it at the entire fucking page. You know, we want to build grid lines in our mind, however we build it. And we need to keep it a constant and stable in order to continue drawing what we're drawing. It's fucking hard as shit. I completely understand. It is so difficult to visualize this in the beginning, and then also while you're visualizing, do something like this, right? When this doesn't even exist, you know, and then to continue visualizing and be like, okay, now there's a back plane and all that shit, right? And then to do that, I see it now, but that's after months of really trying to visualize it. So if there's one tip I can give, is don't shy away from discomfort and keep pushing yourself as much as you can, right? You don't want to be so uncomfortable that you're fucking dying, but you don't also want to just be coasting, because then you're not learning, right? You want to aim for that nice little spot of like, okay, this is very difficult and I definitely have to focus, but with many repetitions and errors, I can definitely get this down. That's kind of the mentality you want to have, right? So, and again, like my page is a mess right now, but I also have to think about proportions. So we have to think, okay, we have a wheel here, right? The wheel for the bike. Now we know, because I've already kind of cheated and I've given myself the plane, then I know, okay, well, it comes around right around here, comes out, and it's roughly 1.5 times the size. But because we have a box now that's not aligned with this, it's coming slightly outward. So it has to be something like this, right? Something like that. And I'm still figuring out the curvature of the wheel as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And there you go. Now we have the wheel. And again, we need this to be centered because we have that the piping thing that comes out, right? So centering is something I've struggled with, but let me try again, because it is, yeah, it's like right around there. There you go. It comes out like so. And then we got the pipe, which will essentially come out and then go, it's at an angle, so it'll go like this. And I know, again, my lines have a lot of weaknesses, as you can see, and I'm drawing over a bunch of things, but this is kind of how I just approach everything. All right, so I'm gonna obviously space it out and I'm gonna go here. But if you have any questions while I rest my brain, please do ask. It's already been an hour. What the fuck? Okay, I'll go for 10 more minutes. I'll do another little bit of this, and then I'll cut it here. But if you guys have any questions, comments, or anything, please let me know, because you know I don't really think of myself as a teacher, but I do think of myself as someone who really wants to help beginners get out of their own bullshit, right? As beginners, we're in our mind because we expect ourselves to be good, even though we don't put the work in. Like a lot of us. I did. I was when I first tried art years ago before I officially started. I did like a fucking week of I did a week of lines with the what is it, a fine liner, and they looked like shit because they were like this, and I gave up. I did that for a week and I gave up. Like how do you expect to get good at anything if you give up after a week, right? So it's your mindset more than anything. But yeah, I'm just gonna rest my brain. Okay, actually, I'm gonna give you guys an action item for anybody who's watching or listening or whatever, right? Because I'm not here to just draw and for you to watch and be like, I'm gonna give every single person listening or watching here an action item, right? You're asking, how do I do cylinders? How do I do? I just explained it to you, but I'm gonna give you homework. All right, 20 planes encompassed within 20 planes, and inside those planes, a cylinder, and then 20 planes that you're visualizing and you're practicing drawing the cylinder or the ellipse inside of it. That's it. That's your homework, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna start with 20. If you want to do 40 or 50, be my guest, but at the minimum 20. And here's how you're gonna do it. You're gonna draw a plane, right? If you're bad at drawing planes, great. This is more practice for you. You're gonna draw a plane, right? It doesn't have to be this small. It can be much bigger. It can be much, much bigger. It's good to have variety in the sizes of the shapes you draw because that's also training you to keep proportion. I'm 21, by the way. Damn, you guys are young. I actually want to improve so bad, but the basics make me so bored. I give up easily. Again, that's a mindset thing, right? Like if you want to improve, you'll have to understand that everything starts with fundamentals, right? I'm learning piano right now. Do you think I started playing fucking Fur Elise or any of like the great piano pieces? No, I started with scales, right? Always want to do the harder stuff. Well, yeah, you can't get good at the harder stuff until you do the basics, right? So you need to understand that and you need to accept that and you need to just tell yourself to enjoy that. But here's the homework. You draw a plane, okay, 20 minimum, and you just focus on fitting a cylinder inside of that, and then you draw the minor axis. That's your practice. You do one of this, and then write, I may be young, but my wisdom is ageless. Yes, I agree. Cringe. I'm kidding. But you don't okay, here's your first. You do that, and then after that, you visualize that, okay? Because we're gonna up the difficulty. If you want to do the harder thing, M Bandari or Bandari, God, I'm gonna whitewash that name so badly. I apologize. Bandari, right? M Bandari. This is the harder thing. Okay, I'm leaving this channel forever. Yes, please leave before you after you like, subscribe, and watch every video. But that's your homework. Okay, I need to like fucking say this better. God damn it. But yeah, to Miss M Bandari, if you want to do the you're contradicting yourself. You're saying you want to do the harder stuff, but you're shying away from this, which is actually hard. Don't lie to yourself. This isn't boring. This is difficult, right? This isn't boring because if it was boring, you'd be able to do everything I just showed and more times 10, and you'd be like, "Oh, this is too easy." Cuz boring is easy, right? So you're not bored. You're actually uncomfortable because this requires effort that you're not used to expending. So let's discount that already. Let's completely, get that out of the way. You're not bored. You're intimidated by this most likely, right? But because if you want to do the harder thing, do this exercise, right? First, draw a plane, right? Think about the vanishing point, one here, one there. Even though you're not drawing that one, you know there's one there, right? The horizon line. Think about all that stuff. You want to do the harder stuff? Constantly be thinking, right? Always be thinking. So here's the first step. Draw the plane, draw the ellipse inside of the plane, and then draw the minor axis. What you're doing here is you're reinforcing three things. You're reinforcing your knowledge of horizon line and vanishing points. You're reinforcing your knowledge and application on how to draw an ellipse inside a plane, and you're reinforcing your knowledge of the minor axis as well, which is going towards the other vanishing point, right? You're reinforcing this. Now, immediately after you do one of these, you now visualize it, and you're going to visualize it in a different perspective to make it even more difficult, right? Knowledge, application, easy version, quote unquote, now the more difficult version, right? So visual what I'm doing, and feel free to ghost. Do not stop yourself from ghosting. I'm gonna visualize one that's going this way now, right? Playing like this. And then I'm gonna now we're gonna draw the ellipse. And now we're gonna draw the minor axis. There you go. Yeah, it is actually hard. Exactly, right? That's the thing. It's not boring. We are boring. This is not boring, right? The fundamentals are not boring. We're just not good enough yet to really make use of them, right? After you get through this part, something like this, and this is going to be a bad example because my fucking hands are shaking and I'm trying to do this fast. But something like this, you know, just be able to draw something interesting out of simple shapes, right? Even something like this. This is not boring. This is already something unique. But to get to this point is very difficult. Therefore, we kind of lie to ourselves and we say, oh, that's boring. Right? But this is not boring. Because once you can do this stuff, once you can start drawing clusters of things, you have opened up your world to something much more interesting, right? So that's it. That's your homework. You're doing one of this, and then you're visualizing it in a different perspective. You're visualizing the plane, and you're visualizing the minor axis, and then you draw the ellipse, and then you reinforce the minor axis. Okay? And if you want to really reinforce your knowledge as well, then you put it inside the plane again. You're basically reverse engineering it. First, we're drawing the plane, then the ellipse, then the minor axis. Yesterday, I got so frustrated because I couldn't draw cylinders. That's good. Turn that frustration and literally gaslight yourself. If you watch my Q&A, this is literally like, this is neuroscience. Literally gaslight yourself into any time you make an error, because mistakes are really important. You want to make all the mistakes. You want to keep fucking up, because what your brain does is when you fuck up and you recognize a fuck up and you gaslight yourself, you tell yourself you feel good, you enjoy these errors. It's crucial to the error recognition and correction process, right? That's why we need to rest our brain every so often because of the gap effect. And that's why we need to rest our brain after a learning bout. So really force yourself to feel good while you're making errors and chase making errors, right? But that's it. That's your homework. This is step 1, right? Which is plane first, then ellipse, then minor axis. This is step 2, which is visualize the plane, visualize the minor axis, visualize the ellipse in a different perspective, and then draw it. And you can do that with anything. Now I'm going to visualize it like this. And now we're going to draw this. Now we'll do the minor axis. And now we're going to reinforce the plane, right? I actually was doing that this morning and I think it worked. No, it works, guys. Trust me. Like, if you do not believe in your brain got you to the point where you're not enjoying art or you're not good at the fundamentals, right? Trust in the advice of people and the science that has been researched heavily and have gotten to a point where you want to be. I'm not anybody special. Okay, we all know I'm not anybody special. Okay, you just saw all the work I did to get to this point, right? But I just put the work in and I believed in the fact. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the fact that constantly making an error is going to be good for you. And this is just a nice way to enjoy the process, to enjoy drawing, because you have to believe that this is all going to work. And it did for me. And if I'm just a normal person, then it 100% can for you, right? But yeah, there's your homework, all right? Minimum 20 times these. Minimum 20 times these. Okay, that and take your time. Don't rush it. Don't be like, I drew a plane. Oh, I fucked it up. Really take your time. If you're already struggling with this, right? Great. So take your time. You may not have all the time of the world, but you may have at least 5 to 10 minutes at a point to just, and if you want to get good at art, I'm going to assume you're going to dedicate time towards it anyways in your daily practice or however often you practice, but you should at least try to do 5 days a week, right? For an hour. That's what I did and it worked. But do not rush. I had the biggest issue when it came to patience because I'd be like, oh, draw a line, oh, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then it looked like shit, right? So be patient, think very hard, enjoy the discomfort and the errors you make, and then rinse and repeat. That's it. That's it. Everything else is just part of the process because you're going to get good. That's what you have to think. That's literally a fact. You're going to get good. So enjoy the process of working on the things that are going to make you get good, right? Again, that's why I have this channel. Look at all these fuck ups. Literally look at these fuck ups. This gun is in the wrong perspective, right? This is an error right here. There's a bunch of fuck ups here. Look at these lines. They're not curved enough properly, right? So many mistakes, so many fucking mistakes. Even when I was trying to teach form intersections and form wrapping, I completely fucked up the one where the cylinder is going through the sphere, right? It's being subtracted, right? This one isn't even that good. My lines are a bit off, right? Form wrapping is so difficult. I fucked this up, right? But even with all those fuck ups, just because I practiced the basics, I was able to do this random bullshit from my mind. And it looks like something hard surface in 3D and mechanical and robot-y, right? So it works. It 100% works. And there's a very efficient path towards making it work, right? Do you have to do this all the time? No. But if you literally learn to enjoy working on the difficult things, this is the fun part. I love doing this shit. I love constantly working hard and practicing things that are difficult, because that's what's was it like 30 minutes of work and 5 of rest. It's basically like what the neuroscience says is something called we all operate in ultradian rhythms, right? Which is a 90-minute cycle. It happens in our sleep and it happens in our focus bouts. So 60 to 90 minutes is the focus bout of when you're practicing really like things like these, right? And within that focus bout, every few minutes, just rest your brain for 10, 15 seconds. Don't think about something. There's something called the gap effect occurs, the spacing effect. You may have heard of it, where your brain, especially doing these mini gap effects, right? While you're doing your little focus bout, these 10 to 15-second rests, plays what you're just doing backwards at 20 times the speed. Why backwards? We don't know, but it's crucial to the error recognition and correction process. That's why you focus on making as many errors as possible, right? And it works. It literally works. Like I did this for 2 hours. I did this for 2 hours over the yesterday and the day before. Oh, no, 4 hours. Sorry, I did this for 4 hours, and now I'm already so much better at doing this, right? Because I focus on the errors, and every time I made a mistake, I'm like, huh. Like I know I say shit like, oh fuck, I made a mistake, but internally I'm just like, nice, I made a mistake, right? So try to practice for at least 40 to 60 minutes. Try to employ at least 5 to 10 rests within that, and definitely don't, like, for 5 to 10 minutes after your practice, just rest your brain. Same thing as the small little rest, but just a big one. And try not to think about anything and just relax. And yeah, watch yourself grow and just enjoy the process. Like if neuroscience is backing up on how to enjoy the process and growth mindset and all that shit, just focus on the effort you're making. All right. Don't focus on the outcome. Focus on just, wow, this is a really hard line to draw. But you tell yourself that, good, because this is all that matters. How much effort it's taking me to stabilize my fingers and draw this line, right? Look, I'm really shit at these lines. Look at this line. It's gonna be so much worse. You see how like wavy and shit it is? Maybe that's not the best example, but when I do this, I'm telling myself this is wonderful, because you only have room to grow, guys. If you don't have room to grow, you're gonna stagnate, and you might as well just not learn at all, right? We have infinite growth. Art is a beautiful skill because there's infinite growth, right? You really have two choices. You might have all seen that image where one person's like, it's two people on a bus. One's looking out this way, one's looking out this way. This guy looks really happy, this guy looks really sad. And they're both thinking the same thing. And my example is, my friend sent me this, right? It's like the happy guy's looking out the window. He's like, there's so much to learn. And then the sad guy's looking out the window and he's like, oh, there's so much to learn. You want to be this person. You want to be the person that's like, wow, there's so much to learn. I understand time is very finite and it seems like we'll never learn everything, but you can still learn as much as you can. You can still just be of the mindset and just enjoy it, right? Because I'm trying to be a fucking motivational speaker for you fucks. I couldn't even finish the bike thing. Thanks for changing my mindset. First time here. Already subscribed and gonna binge all your videos. Thanks again. Yeah, no problem. I'm not trying to be motivational, but this is something that took me a long time to get to this point. It started with gymming and working on my body. Then I took like a UX program, and I got into the field and all that stuff. I'm fucking fired as shit now, or like let go of shit now. But when I realized I could learn things, then I started to look into how to learn, right? And learning really is just, if there's two things I can tell you about learning that is just going to make it so much better, because you can change your mindset. Mindsets can be changed. It's a constant effort, but it can be changed, right? Which is, focus on the errors and tell yourself it's a good thing. Focus on the effort and tell yourself that's all that matters, right? That's it. That's all it takes. And rest. Rest while you're doing it for little bits at a time, and rest for at least 5 to 10 minutes after you're done. That's it. Right? This is how I'm getting better at piano. And like in a bit over a year, my piano teacher's like, holy shit, your progress is amazing, the fastest I've ever seen. Why? I don't even care about piano that much. I'm doing it from a skill learning perspective, but purely because I know how to learn. I just put the work in and I focus on the fundamentals, right? And now I'm playing like a grade 4 piece after a year, and he's like, what the fuck? And even then, you can always be grateful for the progress you're making, but hunger for more, and that's where you build your eye, expose yourself to a lot of good art, and expose yourself to a lot of good fundamentals, so you know what works and what doesn't, right? Like where you are working and where you're not, right? Focus on the errors, enjoy the errors, and then understand where the errors are occurring, and then just make an effort to make them slightly less shit, right? So yeah, if I can help you, I'm glad, right? I'm just here to show you that an average person like myself is gonna become one of the greatest of all time, right? Whatever that measure is, you have to believe that, right? So if I'm gonna become the GOAT, why can't you? Why can't you? I don't draw for fucking hours and hours. I just draw the right things, quote unquote, right? I focus on the right things for hours or an hour to two now because of fucking joblessness, but for an hour or two a day. That's it. And really, on weekends, I don't really draw that much. So, yeah, there. I guess I'm done with my little spiel. Let me at least fucking get one more of this goddamn thing in, you pieces of shits. Fucking ruin my goddamn. You guys fucked with my practice. But I guess that's the beauty of live streaming. Again, I'm thinking of a plane that's like this right now, right? And now we have to think about how they intersect. And then this one's going like this. This one's going like that. But that I'm not seeing, right? If that's the plane I'm seeing, then it's coming down like so. Like that. Oh, maybe we are seeing that. Okay, cool. It's very difficult, even for me right now, to continually see that plane. But the thing is, just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's not doable, right? Something like that. I don't know if that's good actually, but again, because I lost the perspective, I lost the plane that I was drawing. I literally lost it, and that's normal. You're gonna lose your focus a lot. You're gonna lose the thing you're trying to see. But what matters is recognizing it and be like, oh fuck, I'm gonna try I'm gonna try to see it again. And thankfully, once you start putting down lines which reinforce that perspective, you can use that as a launch pad. Like once you do this and you do this, but then you're like, fuck, I lost the perspective, or you're like, okay, well, I can really only go this way. So you're like, okay, let me visualize that box again. Oh, okay, I have something like this, and I have something like this, right? The lines you put down also help inform the perspective that you're creating, which is also very helpful, right? And again, I'm trying to see the axes to everything as well. So this should be like that. We're not seeing it on the other side. And then it's just something like this. But again, I have to think. So it's like that. Wait, I think I fucked it up. I don't know if this is correct. See, it already looks a bit awkward, but I don't know. Maybe it was good, maybe it wasn't, right? But I mean, I hope at the very least this helped you a little bit. Later today, I'm really just gonna be focusing on those bike parts because this one is a really good exercise in imagining all the different angles. Because this is sort of the next step. Oh, everybody fucked off. It's just me now. Wonderful. You fuckers left once you got your 5 minutes of just nutting and motivation. Pieces of shits. Okay, but oh lol. No, Jellyman is still here. Wonderful. Thank you, Jellyman. Oh yeah, and thanks for your question on the Q&A. I hoped it helped you or informed you of anything. But yeah, like this is a really good exercise because you're starting to now cut things into these angles. You have to start visualizing this as well as visualizing even this, right? From the center. You know, that's really good. And then also, going outwards like so, and then curving it and visualizing it like that, following the perspective, and then going outward again, right? So it's really, really good. Really, really good practice. But I'm going to call it here because I'm going to rest my brain now, as I just mentioned, right? So I'm just going to be fucking closing my eyes or staring at the ceiling for 5 to 10 minutes. If the neuroscience says it works, then it works. But yeah, good stream. I'm glad I was able to help some people at the very least. And again, I hope you guys actually draw along. Keep me on the background. Give me retention. I need all that fucking goddamn watch hours if I need to get monetized. But at the very least, I hope it helps in terms of keeping you consistent and motivated. Good stream, dude. Hope I can catch you next time. I'll be streaming literally like 5-6 hours from now. I stream only on Mondays, roughly like afternoon and then in the evening to like late evening-ish, right? It's not a set schedule. It depends on when I wake up. Also depends if I'm doing shit apart from that. But that's the rough schedule I have. I would love to make it more consistent, but that's not going to happen until I have a proper job, my own place, right? Being able to fucking time things better and all that stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Right? Yeah, no problem, Ali. Of course. Like I'm here to showcase that anybody can draw, right? And everyone who does get good at drawing is of the exact same belief. There's not a single person who's proficient in drawing, at an advanced level, who doesn't think that anyone can draw, or who doesn't think anyone can't draw. I hope that makes sense. The fuck, every single one of them think anybody can draw. There you go. That's a better way to fucking say it, bro. I'm retarded. But yeah. Anyways, as always, fuck you for watching. Keep drawing. And dude, it's 1 a.m. in my country, and I'm still here. Yeah, please go sleep. And do the homework. Don't forget the homework. I gave you guys homework, so do the homework when you get the chance. All right. So that'll really help. And don't just do it once. I want you to fucking do that shit as often as you need to until you can draw a cylinder in your mind stacked on top of multiple boxes and all that shit. Right? Like you're not doing this once and then not doing it again. This is always there. The basics are always there. Me doing this right now, even though it wasn't super difficult, it's a great way to reinforce my knowledge. And you guys also fucking cut off my outro, so let me try that again. God damn it. So yes, as I was saying, as always, fuck you for watching. Keep drawing, and please give me money. Thank you. And as always, I just have to fucking awkwardly shimmy out. God damn it.